Welcome to Rogers Center. The roof is open. It was closed all throughout batting practice, and they are just now completing the process of opening the roof. It's a comfortable night here in Toronto. Let's take a look at the lineup for the Miami Marlins. Top of the order, D. Gordon, Martin Prado, Giancarlo Stanton, Jeff Baker, and then Marcell Ozuna. Ozuna is the center fielder. He's got a 9-game hit streak, hitting .400 during that stretch with 7 RBIs. And how about Ichiro Suzuki is the third most hits against Mark Buehrle in his career. Ichiro Suzuki, 27 hits against Mark Buehrle.
Mark Buehrle makes his 12th start of the season. He comes in tonight with 30 wins in interleague play. That's the most among active pitchers. Bartolo Colon is second at 25. He's also had 3 straight complete games on the road. And that last one in Washington. 10th career shutout. Mark Buehrle's never looked better.
No, he hasn't. He gets ahead of the leadoff man, D. Gordon, a lefty batting against Buehrle. Gets this on the ground. Easy play for Justin Smoke. 1 up, 1 down for Mark Buehrle. Well, when you play behind Buehrle, you better be ready to make plays because he's going to give up some contact. In the outfield, it's Colabello, Pilar, and Bautista from left to right. The left side of the infield is really important with Mark Buehrle. Josh Donaldson and Jose Reyes on the left side. Goins and Smoke on the right side, and Diamondbacks. He caught Buehrle last time out.
Yeah, he's become the personal catcher, if you will, for Mark Buehrle. They have something going together. They really do. Behind the plate for that complete game shutout last time in Washington.
This is Martin Prado, the veteran third baseman. Prado was 1 for 4 in last night's game. He goes after that pitch down and away. It's a ball and a strike. Prado's now 31 years old. He grew up in the Atlanta Braves system. They signed him as a free agent out of Venezuela in 2001. Pat, specifically, what has really worked well for Buehrle over this last hot stretch?
You know, you see a marked improvement from Mark Buehrle from the beginning of the season. That cutter's got a little bit more bite to it. He's throwing pitches in better places. Early in the season, it seemed like everything was up, and Mark just couldn't throw the ball where he wanted to. The last 3 or 4 starts, he's been able to get that ball in on the righties. He's also been able to fade that changeup away from him and pound that strike zone like he's done his whole career.
There's a fly ball to center. Pilar has plenty of room. Just in front of the warning track. Chew down. Well, we mentioned Buehrle. He's got a 7-4 record, and boy, lately he has really done everything you want from a starting pitcher.
He was giving up a lot of hits early in the season, but the Blue Jays are scoring a lot of runs for him. But over his last 5 starts, the batting average by the team's under 200. Look at that whip. He's barely giving up base runners. And the on-base percentage down. And he's just doing vintage Mark Buehrle stuff, using that cutter to the right-handers, getting in on their hands.
Giancarlo Stanton had a 3-hit night last night, including a home run, and he puts a charge in this one. That's home run number 20 for Giancarlo Stanton. He hit a home run to right center in last night's game off Marco Estrada, and he puts the Miami Marlins on the board.
You know, I am convinced this guy can hit a home run every time he comes to the plate. That's how special he is, how big and strong he is. It looked like Buehrle tried to trick him with a changeup, but it was up. Problems that he was having early in the season. Look where that pitch is. Changeup out over the plate. You might have to come in, I think, to Stanton and just try and crowd him.
This is Jeff Baker, the veteran, as Stanton hits home run number 20. That's also his 50th RBI. Baker's a veteran. Signed originally with Colorado. He spent last year with Texas Rangers. He's a right-handed bat. It's hit well against Buehrle.
And against
6 for 14.
Against left-handers. This is the guy that they have been batting behind Giancarlo Stanton to give him a little bit more protection. Tell you what, I'm not pitching to that guy the rest of the series. He can beat you at any time.
He faced a left-hander very similar to Buehrle in Colorado on Saturday, Chris Russin, and he was 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. And what Russin did was That's strike 3, and that's off the glove as Navarro reached back for a ball, but Baker's going to reach. As Navarro lost track of the count, it was off his glove for strike 3.
You know, that was a hard cutter. We told you that the cutter has been a lot better. Watch as that ball handcuffs Navarro, and he thought it was just strike 2. You saw him reaching back to Angel Hernandez for another baseball, but that was strike 3.
Second pass ball of the season charged to Navarro, and Baker reaches on the strikeout and pass ball. Two outs. This is Marcell Ozuna. He was 2 for 4 with a ribby last night. We mentioned he's got a 9-game hit streak. The Marlins scored just 3 runs on 8 hits last night. The Blue Jays had that 6-run first inning, and there was no looking back. There's another base hit. He flares it into right. Baker will stop at second. So with 2 outs, the Marlins get a home run. Base runner reaches on a pass ball, and Ozuna gets a base hit to right to extend his hit streak to 10. 2
very quick outs, and then a couple of pitches up in the strike zone. He should be out of this inning. But it continues with that base hit to right field by Ozuna.
Well, Burley obviously had his scoreless inning streak snapped with the 2-out home run to Giancarlo Stanton. This is Christian Yelich, the left fielder.
You know, that scoreless streak that you were talking about, remember how it started? In Minnesota, where he gave up 4 runs in the first inning. They actually had a pitcher, Ryan Tepera, up and throwing in the first inning, and then from then on, it's almost like Mark Burley said, okay, enough's enough.
Yeah, he gave up 4 runs on 5 hits to the Twins in the first inning, and then 1 hit for the rest of the game. That's a good pitch on the corner. So after that rough first inning, the Twins had 2 base runners. Plouffe got a base hit. Another Twin reached on an error by Reyes, and that was it. Bouncing ball over Burley. Goins coming in from second. Throws quickly to end the inning. So Burley minimizes the damage. Giancarlo Stanton is a hitting machine right now. This is home run number 20. RBI number 50. Miami has a 1-0 lead. In Dan Herron. Let's take a look at the Blue Jays lineup. Reyes top of the order. Has been a real spark plug lately. And Josh Donaldson, boy, has he been hot since May 25th. He's hit 7 home runs and driven in 15. His OPS over 1.2. And right behind him, Jose Bautista's put up big numbers against tonight's starter, Dan Herron, including 3 home runs and 5 ribbies.
This is 34-year-old Dan Herron, 6-2 at a .318 earned run average this season. 11 starts. He is acquired from the Dodgers along with Dee Gordon in a 7-player trade last December. Career versus the Blue Jays, 8-3 in 12 starts. He's also given up 14 home runs in those starts. He has won at least 10 games in a season for 10 straight seasons. He's been a model of consistency throughout his whole career.
Yeah, Dan Herron started with the St. Louis Cardinals, and they traded him after bits of 2 seasons in the big leagues. Reyes jumps on the first pitch, and D. Gordon makes the catch. Reyes lines out, one down. Defensively, middle of this offense or defense is very, very stable. In the outfield, it's Yelich, Ozuna, and Stanton from left to right. Martin Prado, the veteran, great double play combination up the middle with Echeverria and Gordon. Jeff Baker gets the start against the lefty Mark Burley, and behind the plate, JT Realmuto.
Very, very good young outfield, and that is Christian Yelich in left field. Has won his first Gold Glove last season. One error in 262 total chances. He's the first Marlin outfielder in club history to win a Gold Glove. And I think there's going to be a few more after these three are done.
Josh Donaldson takes a first pitch strike. Dan Herron may be characterized as a right-handed version of Mark Burley. Not overpowering, going to try to change speeds and make you hit it off the end of the bat.
He will give up his share of contacts. Not a big strikeout pitcher like he was when he was younger, but boy, he works quickly, throws a lot of strikes, moves the ball around the strike zone, and pitches to contact.
There he takes that breaking ball just off the plate, and it's a 2-2 count. You'll notice Herron has a very distinct hesitation in his delivery. And this started way back in the minor leagues with the Cardinals, where that pause right there off the plate. What the object of that pause is to allow a pitcher to balance, and he stays balanced over that back leg, and Herron just used it early on, and it felt so good. He has kept it his entire career. There's a strike, down and away. 2 down.
Well, you hear coaches talk about gather over the mound. He's gathering himself so he can stay together. Let's take a look at the scouting report for Dan Herron. He's got a little bit of everything. Fastball, he goes at 41% of the time. Look at the average, just 188, because he can paint like he just did against Josh Donaldson, down and away. Slider, curveball, and an occasional splitter. For Dan Herron, he's got outstanding command, outstanding control, and he's always around the strike zone.
He has a interesting record against the Blue Jays here at Rogers Center. He's 5-0 in 7 previous starts. But the Jays have hit him hard. They've had 11 home runs against Herron here in this ballpark. Bautista himself has 3 career home runs against Herron, 2 of those coming right here.
You know, and I think that matches up with the type of hitters that the Blue Jays have had and the type of pitcher that Dan Herron is. There are his career numbers here at Rogers Center. Note the whip and the support at the bottom. High ERA, but he's undefeated at 5-0. He will pitch to contact.
This is popped up on the infield. D. Gordon, the second baseman, comes over, makes the catch. Quick inning for Dan Herron. 3 up, 3 down. Marlins have a 1-0 lead after 1.
Travis today. I spoke with Alex Anthopoulos. He said Devin took batting practice in Florida and feels good. The hope now is in the next few days he can go back to his rehab assignment that he was pulled from when he was figuring out that soreness had come back. They're really not sure exactly where it's going to go from here, guys. They say it's just going to be a day-to-day situation before they realize when they're going to put him into that rehab assignment. But the good news is he took BP and there is no more pain.
Barry, they have to make sure that that pain is out of there before he starts to get back into a game, because it's just going to reoccur. But that's good news that he's starting to swing the bat. Ryan Goins has been more than adequate filling in. This is the catcher, JT Realmuto. He's done a nice job. You know, they had Jared Saltalamacchia, and they thought he was going to be the long-term fix behind the plate, but they let him go.
Signed him to a big contract and then released him.
$21 million for 3 seasons, and he is now signed to a minor league deal with Arizona. There's a line drive into left, and that's going to get down. Colabello plays it on the hop. Realmuto with the leadoff single. So the Marlins now have 3 hits already off Burley, and he has the knack for making adjustments. We've seen that recently.
Yeah, he'll find his groove after that first inning and start getting those ground ball outs. You know, you were talking about Minnesota, the Minnesota game last inning, and after the first inning, he faced 24 batters. That was it. Mentioned the error.
This should be 2. Goins to Reyes, back to first. So much for the leadoff single. Adeiny Echeverria on the first pitch grounds into the 4-6-3 double play.
And that's what was happening where he gave up an error. He picked the guy off, and then he gave up base hit, and then did this. Promptly got the ground ball. That was a good cutter. You saw Echeverria start his swing on a pitch he thought was going to be over the middle of the plate, and then had to pull his hands in and got jammed up. Blue Jays turned another double play. That's 53 now this year.
Blue Jays really have done a nice job defensively. Burley jumps ahead of Ichiro. He mentioned Ichiro Suzuki has 27 hits in his career against Mark Burley. That's the 3rd highest total of hits by a hitter against Burley. Of course, Ichiro has been playing in the league since 2001.
And he's got hits against everybody in his career.
This is slice to left. Colabello over to his left. Makes the catch, and Burley faces the minimum here in the second. Just 9 pitches. Edwin Encarnacion back in the lineup after missing 2 games. Big numbers against Dan Herron, including 2 home runs.
Presented by the Restyle 2016 Acura RDX. Go beyond utility.
It had been raining most of the afternoon, but it is cleared out. The roof is open. We move to the second inning. Edwin Encarnacion takes a strike from Dan Heron. 219 for the season. There's a high pop on the infield. Jeff Baker, the first baseman, stays with it. Encarnacion's retired. 4 straight retired by Heron to start the ballgame.
A couple of pop outs by the Blue Jays. Heron's got that fastball to righties tonight, down and away. He's already painted Donaldson, Bautista, now Encarnacion with that fastball.
This is Chris Colabello. Oh, what a season he has put together. Colabello hitting .349. And he's got an 18-game hit streak. That's the longest streak in the American League this season.
It's the longest active streak right now in the major leagues. Wilson Ramos had a 19-gamer earlier this season.
Ramos' streak came to an end on the 19th of May. Mighty cut.
Got a little large on that 2-0
Yeah,
pitch
he
right
did,
there.
didn't he?
That's not him.
And you can see Heron shaking his head about the location. He said, I can't pitch there. Got too much of the plate.
Yeah, missed his spot with that 2-0 cutter.
Much better pitch, and it just adds and subtracts. And we talk about pitch to contact all the time, which both Heron and Burley do. But really, what does that mean in your mind?
I think it means you're making good pitches that they are swinging at it and making soft contact. That's the main thing. Heck, anybody can go up there and throw it right down the middle. We saw that yesterday when the Blue Jays scored 6 runs. He was pitching to contact, but they were bad pitches. They were right down the middle, about belt high. For me, pitching to contact is making quality pitches like Heron and Burley have done so far, down and away, and you induce weak contact.
3-2 pitch. Colabello tried to check one around and strikes out on the foul tip. Well, the Blue Jays have scored 6 runs or more in 6 straight games, and there's been a terrific win streak. You look offensively at what they've done, Pat, and boy, they have really put up some crooked numbers offensively.
Yeah, offensively right now, they're carrying them with that .426 RISP, runners in scoring position, batting average, hitting over 300 as a team. But I think more importantly, they're putting it together. They're getting the pitching and the hitting together, and that's why they're winning ball games.
Justin Smoak getting the start tonight at first base. For Smoak, just his 21st start at first. There's a little color. Very similar to Mark Burley. In and out, up and down, back and forth.
83 miles an hour, and you saw Justin freeze on it. There's another one. 76 miles an hour. It takes a little something off, and this is how baseball used to be back in the day, right?
This is pitching 101. There's no question about it. No radar guns involved. Thank you. And I tell you what, you got to be a very confident and brave man to go out there and pitch with what they're packing with them. It's easy to pitch when you throw 97.
Sure. You're not going to get a lot of contact.
That's a high fly ball. Yelich over near the foul line. He gets there in fair territory, makes the grab. Dan Heron perfect through 2 innings. The Marlins have a 1-0 lead. We head to the 3rd. D. Gordon will start things off.
Next on June the 28th, the Blue Jays present White Panel Hat Day. Brought to you by Jack Links. The first 20,000 fans will receive a Blue Jays white panel hat. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. Buck, I remember as a little boy going down to Exhibition Stadium on Cap Day and getting one of those beauties.
Yeah, Barry, that was quite a while ago when I was playing. We had those white panel hats and baby blue, powder blue road jerseys. A long time ago. You know what those hats are good for? Autographs.
Autographs.
They sign very well.
And that's what I was going to say to Barry. Don't you even say looking for your autograph. Don't even go there.
D. Gordon's been playing pepper with Justin Smoke. It's the second time he's bounced out to the first baseman, one down. D. Gordon leading the National League in hitting. 366 average, 0 for 2 so far. Martin Prado flying out to center field his first time up. Boy, these are the two most important batters for Burley. The two guys hitting the head of Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, you retire them, both of them, then you don't have to pitch to Stanton. You can pitch around them. You get them on base, then you have to throw strikes to Stanton. And I'm telling you right now, I've seen enough over the first game and one at bat. I would not pitch to him.
Well, we mentioned Stanton Saturday facing a similar type of left-hander out in Colorado. Struck out 3 straight times against Chris Wesson. It's a looping ball into center. Pilar will get there. Prado flies out for the second time. Well, Stanton has hit his 20th home run tonight, and we'll show you where the majority of those pitches have been. Out over the plate in the danger zone.
Yeah, he loves to get those arms extended. You can see where those red circles are. That's where he has hit his home runs. And that's where the pitch was that he hit out. Change up away. So maybe you change the plan a little bit. Maybe throw some cutters inside and just stay in there.
That's what Russin did Saturday. He stayed inside with cutters, got him aware of the inside part, and then he threw him an occasional change up away. Coming in again. Go ahead and stay in there with 2 outs. If you walk them, take chances with the next guy.
Stay in there, but just don't miss.
There's a change up, then he strikes him out. He dropped the backdoor cutter on him, and Stanton strikes out. Burley starting to get in the groove again. 9 pitches, the final one to Stanton for the strikeout.
Father's Day, forget about a pair of socks. Take them to a ball game. The Blue Jays host the Baltimore Orioles on Father's Day, Sunday, June 21st. Yes, bring Dad to the ball game. Go to BlueJays.com for tickets. And there's a very famous dad in the crowd, Mr. Walter Gretzky, whose son Wayne is also here at the ballpark today.
That's right, Barry. Walter looks great, doesn't he? Looks like he's signing autographs, and Wayne's here for the Joe Carter Golf Tournament. Joe does a terrific job of bringing in some A-list celebrities to this golf tournament.
A+.
Down to Navarro with a ball and a strike. Navarro hasn't had much luck against Dan Hare, and he's 1 for 17 against the Marlins righty. Breaking ball, that's a foul ball. Just barely outside the bag at first.
That was close. Looked like it might have a chance to hit that bag and maybe go down the right field line, but it just curved foul. They really bunched Navarro in the middle of the diamond. Echeverria is up the middle at shortstop. You see Prado, the third baseman, off the line. They're taking away the middle of the diamond.
He went around. He's called for the swing. Navarro can't believe it. Angel Hernandez quickly indicating strike 3 on the swing. That's 3 strikeouts for Harry for the first 7 batters.
Donaldson looking, Colabello swinging, and now another off-speed pitch from Heron. You can see that ball right underneath the bat. And Angel Hernandez right on top of that one saying that Navarro went around, and he did on that replay.
1 down. Kevin Pillar. Boy, Heron, he's locked in early, making great pitches on the edges. Pillar had a 2-hit game last night. He was 2 for 3. He was on base 4 times as he walked twice. Things have slowed down dramatically for Pillar in June.
And that's a good thing. That's the part of sports where you say slow things down, and they have. He has slowed down his swing. He has slowed down his approach. He's not swinging at so many bad pitches. He's staying relaxed. He's staying under control, and good things have happened for him. He had 2 walks yesterday.
Yeah, that doesn't happen very often for Kevin. He's a free swinger, and he didn't walk very often. Heron just won't give in to you, especially when he's got a lead. If he has a big lead, then he'll start throwing the ball over the heart of the plate. The 1-0 ball game, he's going to make you hit something on the edge. There's another pitch on the outside corner. Prado to his left. When you watch Burley and Heron pitch, you have to really appreciate the fact that they are indeed pitchers.
Yeah, they have to pitch because their fastball is not very fast. Ari Dickey is the slowest, but he's a knuckleball pitcher. Mark Burley can do it with his assortment of pitches. We've seen Jared Weaver and now Darren Heron just 86 miles an hour with that fastball. But if you hit your spots and you change speeds and you move the ball around, you can pitch, and you can pitch for a long time.
And you can stay healthy because you're not trying to light up the radar gun. You're not throwing every pitch at 100% effort. Burley's never missed a start in his career, and Heron's been an Ironman. Heron had 3 straight seasons with the Oakland Athletics, over 200 innings, 05, 06, and 07.
Oh, there's a good pitch. I would sign these kind of guys all day long if I was a general manager, because I know I can count on them. They're going to make their starts. They're going to give you innings, and they're going to give you a chance to win.
How about if you groom those type of pitchers? If you set up a plan and say, okay, you don't throw 98, so we're going to make you Mark Burley and Dan Heron. We're going to shelve the radar gun. And Chuck Hernandez, who's the pitching coach for the Miami Marlins, was the pitching coordinator for the Tampa Bay Rays in their first year of existence. And he opted to get rid of the radar guns. He said, we don't want our pitchers to be conscious of velocity. We want them to learn how to pitch. Ryan Goins, 2-2 count, fouled straight back.
How'd that work out?
He met resistance, obviously, and Tommy John has said it forever. And there's the manager, Dan Jennings, and next to him is Chuck Hernandez, longtime pitching coach. But Tommy John said the radar gun is a tool for the uninformed to evaluate. And it's a pretty good statement. If you just go on raw velocity, Pedro Martinez probably wouldn't have gotten drafted. 3-2, 2 outs. Marlins have a 1-0 lead. Another pop-up. Echeverria out into the outfield. Dan Herron, first time through the order. 3 strikeouts. He's perfect through 3.
The legendary Snoop Dogg took the field to throw out the first pitch to Jose Bautista, who was among a number of Blue Jay players and Astro players that wanted to get a close-up look at the famous Raptor and actor. So he threw out the first pitch tonight. Buck, Tabby, I imagine you guys both have a lot of Snoop Dogg tunes in your iPods, right?
California Roll, Drop It Like It's Hot, and Young and Wild and Free, Barry, huh?
That is impressive.
Absolutely.
That's very impressive.
Come on. He's a California guy up in Long Beach and a baseball fan.
And I love his documentary about his son on ESPN.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. And he's quite a sports fan, obviously, in town for that great Joe Carter golf event. Mark Burley gets Jeff Baker to foul it into the seats. It's a 1-2 count.
You know, I was talking about that documentary about his son. His son they chronicled his high school career. He was a wide receiver in high school, and I think he ended up signing with UCLA, but I think it was called Snoop and Son, something like that. And it was really cool, an inside look of their relationship and his career in high school. Pretty cool stuff.
Bouncing ball to Donaldson. Baker is retired, 5-3 on the ground ball. Yeah, you get celebrities, of course, and we talk about Wayne Gretzky being here. His son played at Valley Christian Oaks Academy, and they had Joe Montana's son and Will Smith's son all playing football at the same time. Boy, you would get into that Los Angeles area, and you got a lot of celebrities. There is the great one, Wayne Gretzky, here tonight, along with many celebrities and sports personalities for the Joe Carter Golf.
Joe brings them out, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
Wow.
He does a nice job, and it's a great cause. And they got a great turnout here tonight. A beautiful night for baseball. Marcell Ozuna waves at that off-speed pitch. Ozuna has extended his hit streak to 10 straight with a single to right. Ozuna has developed into a very good center fielder. It was thought initially that he might be the left fielder, but now at 24 years old, he's taken over every day in center.
Brett Butler is the outfield instructor here, and the first time he saw him, he thought for sure he would be a left fielder, but then saw him for a while and said, this guy is a really good center fielder, and he's going to get better and better. He's very raw as a baseball player. He's got power, but he can play center field, and that left fielder, Yelich, is pretty good in left field.
Bautista backs up Now he breaks it down on the warning track, and Ozuna's retired.
See that raw power right there? There's Brett. He is the base running and outfield instructor for this team.
Former teammate of yours?
Former teammate, yeah. And he does a good job with the guys bunting. He works with the pitchers every single day on their bunting. He was an excellent bunter. And he has worked with D. Gordon on his bunting.
Burley has retired 7 straight. This is Christian Yelich. He's a former #1 pick back in 2010. There's a long drive to right, and this one's going to get back into the seats. Second deck for Yelich. Just his 3rd home run of the season. And it's a 2-0 Marlins lead.
That is the part of the game that the Marlins think will eventually come once he fills out and gets a little bit stronger. He's 23 years old. And he's got a beautiful swing. Just doesn't have the power just yet. But I think it will come. Look at that flat swing, and it stays in the hitting zone a long time. And Mark Burley's given up home runs in his career. He knew that one was gone. Never even looked at it. Just give me another baseball.
That's the first home run Yelich has hit this season against lefty pitching. And there's another ground ball to right. Goins, what a play, but not in time. JT Realmuto runs very well, got up the line. Goins showing his range. He stayed with that ground ball and had a play at first, but Realmuto reaches on the infield single.
Didn't even think he had a chance at #1 getting to the ball. You can see he's playing him up the middle, but look at the range. And then the ability to come up throwing and almost get that runner at first base. This is an athletic play. A catch, a slide, and a throw from his knees. And accurately over to first base. Pretty good. Mark Burley heading over there he was going to cover the bag.
He was backing up the throw. He got himself
up
into foul territory. It was a terrific effort. And just in case, he knew it was going to be an iffy play for Goins. And if that ball got away, there's a chance that the base runner could go to second. Burley was backing up the play. Never miss a beat, does
he? No. Ball hit to the right side. Pitchers are supposed to go over there, but then he realized that smoke was going to be there. He went there to back up. Very heady play.
Burley has now given up 350 home runs for his career. But 214 of them have been solo homers. He's much like Dan Harrod in that regard. And these 2 home runs tonight have both come with 2 outs. Broken bat and dribbler to short. That'll end the inning. But the Marlins get their second homer of the night, #3 for Christian Yelich, his first against the lefty this season. It's 2-0 Miami.
Tomorrow night, and there is a man who's seen plenty of Stanley Cup playoff games. That is the great one, Wayne Gretzky. We showed his dad earlier, Walter, and Wayne enjoying the game, and I'm sure he'll be enjoying Game 4 between the Lightning and Blackhawks. That goes tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Pacific on CBC.
Been a great Stanley Cup finals to this point. I'm sure it will continue as those two teams are evenly matched. Jose Reyes lined out to the second baseman in his first at bat. Dan Herron has retired 9 straight to start the game. Ball on strike to Reyes. He has been a terrific table setter throughout this homestand. He gets out in front of that pitch, and again, another reminder that Herron and Burley are so similar. Look at those pitches. First one's for a strike, and then he just takes it off the plate the rest of the at-bat.
In the changing of the speeds, a little bit harder, then a little bit softer. That time a little bit took something off, and Jose was way out in front.
Off the end of the bat, over near the Blue Jays dugout and into the dugout. Dan Herron was a second-round draft pick of the Cardinals in 2001 out of Pepperdine University in Malibu, California. He's a 3-time All-Star, made the All-Star team in 07, 08, and 09. Spent parts of 2 seasons with St. Louis and then was traded to Oakland for Mark Mulder. And Herron, of course, a youngster at that point. He and Derek Barton, Kiki Calero went to Oakland for Mark Mulder, the big lefty. Reyes drills it to right. That's going to get down. Stanton can't make a play on it. It goes all the way to the wall. Reyes is the first Blue Jay to reach with a leadoff double here in the 4th.
First time through the lineup, the only ball that was hit hard was the line drive by Jose Reyes, the first batter of the ball game. But this time, it looks like he gets an off-speed pitch and stays right with it. He wants to leak out there, but he keeps his hands back. You can see he's fooled slightly, and he yanks that ball into the corner in right field for extra bases. First base runner for the Blue Jays. That's always a good start when you can get Reyes to speed on the bases.
Well, the Blue Jays have thunder and lightning all the way up and down their batting order. Reyes starts things off with a double. Donaldson homered in last night's game. A solo shot deep to center. This is where you have to show extreme patience as a hitter and remind yourself that Herron is going to try to get you to chase something out of the zone.
Right, and in these situations, he'll tend to go softer to try and work against your aggressiveness. So you need to back off a little.
Boy, that is such a great point. Younger pitchers with less experience than Herron get into a jam and say, okay, now I'm going to muscle my way through. Well, Herron takes the hitter's adrenaline and uses it to his advantage. He goes softer.
Yeah, he goes softer. Takes a little something off that time. 85 mile an hour. It's like a little cutter slash slider right there to Josh Donaldson. As a hitter, there's a couple of things you can do. You can get on the plate just a little bit more and almost dare him to throw inside and then try and yank the ball, or you can move up a little bit closer towards the pitcher.
Donaldson just pulls it foul.
In last night's ball game, Josh Donaldson got a 1-0 fastball. And he knows what to do with 1-0 fastballs when they're cranked right down the middle. Send it out of here. That was home run number 16 for Josh.
As we mentioned, since May 25th, Donaldson has hit 7 home runs. Reaches for that pitch off the plate. And this is where you have to expand, as Herron is going to try to get you to trace. And Herron has called out his catcher for a little discussion after that last swing by Donaldson. Donaldson had pretty good extension out over the plate, and Herron might have picked up on that.
I've seen pitchers starting to throw Josh more sliders, more breaking balls away. And that was a breaking ball right there. Donaldson was able just to get a piece of it.
Just a little bit slower and a little bit further off the plate. Bautista will be next. We've said it time and time again, there are no rest stops in this Blue Jay lineup. Full count to Donaldson. Line drive, that'll get down in front of Yelich. Reyes had to hold. They're going to stop him now, and they've got him hung up, but he dives back in. Reyes came around as that ball was hit right to Yelich on one hop, and Rivera had him stopped, but now they're discussing it.
Yeah, Louis was watching the left fielder, Yelich, and he went back on this ball, gave some ground, so he was going to try and score him. You can see he's throwing it from a flat foot. Louis Rivera was sending him, and then once they got the ball to Echeverria, who's got an outstanding arm for a shortstop, that's when they threw up the stop sign. You do not want to be running into any outs where they are in the lineup. There he is, say, wait, go. No, you better get back. He got the ball very quickly to Echeverria.
Yeah, and Reyes, to his credit, was given Rivera 100% effort going into third. He saw the wave home and then had to throw on the brakes. Bautista popped out to the second baseman to end the first. Blue Jays threatening to get right back in this game. They trail 2-0. We mentioned earlier Dan Herron is a perfect 5-0 pitching here at Rogers Center. This is his 8th career start, but he's given up some long balls.
Yes. He's given up a lot of hits, a high batting average, a lot of runs, and a lot of home runs.
He's allowed 11 home runs here at Rogers Center. Donaldson will move up on the ball in the dirt. That's a good read by Donaldson. Once he saw that curveball in the dirt kick off the catcher, he broke immediately to second.
And look how far this curveball bounces away from the catcher. Not very far at all. Tries to block it. It hits him in the palm of that glove. Look at that. Maybe 3 feet out in front of home plate, but as a base runner, you can see the fly of that baseball. And he read it perfectly.
Bautista drives it to right. Stanton's got a strong arm. Reyes is tagging. Stanton's throw is headed for third, and he'll get there. Donaldson advances. Bautista with the sac fly. And the Blue Jays have cut the lead in half.
Okay. Wild pitch that goes maybe 3 or 4 feet away from the catcher. And instead of a runner at first base and the run in on the sacrifice fly, look where Josh Donaldson is. He's over at third base now. If he doesn't advance on that wild pitch, he's at first base. Now he's there with less than 2 outs and a chance for Encarnacion to tie the game. That's heads-up base running.
All of these little things really come into focus when you're starting to win. It makes sense to move up on a short, wild pitch. It makes sense to tag up on a fly ball to right. Reyes brings a lot of life to this ball club. Bautista picks up the RBI, his 37th. It's a 2-1 Marlins lead. Encarnacion hits it to left. Donaldson goes back to tag. Yelich makes the catch, and Donaldson comes across to score, and just like that, we're tied. Once again, Reyes starts the inning with a leadoff double. Donaldson singles and a back-to-back couple of sac flies, and it's 2-2.
Simple baseball. Play the game offensively the right way. And again, a play that's not going to show up in the box score tomorrow, but Josh Donaldson moving up on that short, wild pitch got the Blue Jays a run.
Sure did. Encarnacion picks up the RBI. He's got 34. Donaldson scores yet another run. Chris Colabello takes a breaking ball for a strike. Donaldson has now scored 48 runs.
DeMarlo Hale says he's a risk taker, but a playmaker. And he made a play right there to get in the scoring position.
Colorado chases one just off the plate. With that run scored, Donaldson has taken over sole possession of first place in that department. He and Brian Dozier of the Twins were tied at 47. Aaron crosses up Colabella with a fastball, strikes him out. Now the Blue Jays have tied it up with 2 in the bottom of the 4th. We're heading to the 5th. It's a tie game. Now time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn.
Rogers First Rewards MasterCard. You'll earn 5,000 first-use bonus points redeemable for 7 free on-demand movies. The Rogers First Reward MasterCard, no annual fee. Apply today. Buck?
Thank you very much, Barry. Another good crowd on hand as they are pleased to have the roof open, and it's open-air baseball here at Raptors Center. We move to the 5th. Burley and Heron tied at 2. Ichiro Suzuki flied out to left field his first time up. I went back and I looked at all of the hitters that Burley has faced over his career. Michael Kadire has 110 at bats against Mark Burley. Of course, Kadire played many years with the Minnesota Twins in the same division as the Chicago White Sox, which was Burley's team. Another fly ball to left. Colorado gets back. Ichiro's retired. Leadoff man is down here in the 5th. Mark Burley is pitching in his 498th game. Too shy of 500.
Never been on the disabled list, so that's got to be 498 consecutive games. Whew.
Mark Burley, he is a baseball player. And here's a guy that didn't make his high school baseball team until his junior season. They cut him. Then he went to junior college, and he was a very low draft pick out of junior college. Goins ranging to his left. Gordon has grounded out 3 times.
That's another one of those success stories that we were talking about the other day. Guys who are picked low in the draft, but then they just have a baseball knowledge and a baseball sense, those great IQ, and they find their way to the big leagues, and then they stay here for a long, long, long time, and Mark Burley's one of those guys.
Well, and Burley's always had to pitch like this because he never was a hard thrower. We have seen guys in the past. Frank Tanana comes to mind. I mean, he was a blower. He threw mid-90s early in his career, and then he hurt his arm. And he became a finesse pitcher out of necessity. Well, Burley's never had that great fastball. So he's always had to pitch like that.
You know, you were talking a couple of innings ago about players never would have been drafted because they didn't light up the radar gun. How about Greg Maddux? Greg Maddux never lit up the radar gun. He did okay, didn't he?
Yeah, he made out all right. Burley was a 38th round pick in 1998 by the White Sox.
38. Wow.
That's a fair ball. Prado hits it just inside the bag, and it goes down the left field line for Martin Prado. That's his 10th double of the season. It comes with one out here in the 5th. Okay, Mr. Manager, you got Stanton at the plate now. What do you do?
He'll be at first base in 4 pitches. If I'm the manager, this is a cutter that just doesn't get in. He wants this one in just a little bit more, and it just stays down and in, and he rifles it by Josh Donaldson down the left field line.
Yeah, Navarro's not even down in the crouch. I'm not going to waste any time here. Giancarlo Stanton has homered and struck out tonight. He's got a base open and set up the double play.
Why would you pitch to him?
Excuse me, there's 2 outs. But yeah, you got a base open, you're not going to pitch to him. I mean, he's got such great extension and coverage, there's no reason to take a chance to pitch to him as hot as he is. He's homered in both games here. He's got 4 hits in 6 at-bats. So Stanton will take ball 4. That's the intentional walk number 5 for Stanton. And now they pass the baton to Jeff Baker, who gets the start tonight at first base.
That's one way to speed up the game, isn't it?
Just to go 4?
Yeah, and just send them down to first base.
Yeah, it is, but I guess the traditionalists will say, well, there's always the chance that the pitcher's going to throw one away.
Or throw one over where a guy swings at. I've seen that.
Yeah.
Where a guy he's trying to walk a guy and he gets too close to the plate and the guy swings and gets a base hit.
2-0 to Jeff Baker. Ground ball to short. Reyes goes to second. The intentional walk works perfectly. Burley strands a pair into 5th. Bottom of the 5th. It's a 2-2 game. Justin Smoke will start things off.
Green chairs in the TV comfort zone tonight are guests of TD. Today, share a video or photo showing your Blue Jays spirit using hashtag TDTuesday and tag at Blue Jays for a chance to win. While over in the Jays Care Community Clubhouse are folks from the Etobicoke Rangers Girls Pee Wee Select. Buck.
Welcome to Rogers Center. We hope you're having a good time, and why not? You're seeing a heck of a ball game. It's 2-2. As the Blue Jays are set to bat in the bottom of the 5th, it'll be Smoke, Navarro, and Pilar to face Dan Herron. First pitch curveball. He throws the kitchen sink at you, doesn't he?
Little curveball, first pitch, it'll get me over curve. Let's see if he goes a little firmer. Yes, he does. 86 miles an hour.
You know, that's the whole key to pitching. It's vary your velocities, location, and you can really be effective. And Heron throws a splitter, curveball, cutter, slider, fastball. He's got the whole assortment. The curveball. For me, as a former catcher, these were the guys that were really a lot of fun to catch because you could ask them to do just about anything, and they could execute pitches.
That's the key, isn't it? You ask them to do it, and they can do it. There's some guys who can't do this. Some guys that go out there, and you ask them to, all right, give me a fastball 0-2 just off the plate to set up this next pitch. Well, some guys can't do that. They just rear back and throw it as hard as they can.
Took something off, and Smoke strikes out. That's 5 strikeouts. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. So Harper matches Stanton with his 20th home run. That's a great pitching matchup in New York. Max Scherzer for the Astros and Masahiro Tanaka for the Yankees. Yanni Navarro grounds out to the second baseman. 2 quick outs here in the 5th. Well, Stanton now with 6 straight seasons of 20 home runs. Puts him in rare company.
Yeah, before his 25th season. He's 25 years old. Just the 8th major leaguer to do that in history. 6 20 home run seasons by age 25. He's pretty good. That's why the Blue Jays have to walk him when they've got that base open.
Just 85 miles an hour for strike 1. You see, Heron will vary that hesitation from time to time, where he gets up there and he'll hold it just a split second longer, and that can be a decisive move and very effective for a pitcher to mess with the hitter's timing.
Mess with the timing and the rhythm at the plate.
Bouncing ball. Gordon was shaded up the middle. Pilar grounds out. 3 up, 3 down. We'll go to the 6th, and here comes the Home Hardware Cleanup Crew, brought to you by Natura. Home Hardware's exclusive line of safe, environmentally friendly cleaning products. Starting pitchers. If you look back at the last 6 starts for Drew Hutchison, his ERA is 2.82. Well, Mark Burley just a tick higher at 2.84 over his last 6. And how about Aaron Sanchez? Well under 3 at 2.88. And these pitchers have really been dealing, which has allowed the Blue Jays to win 6 straight. And as far as Sanchez goes, he was scheduled to pitch tomorrow afternoon. but it has been reported that they're going to skip him and not push everybody back, but they're going to skip Sanchez specifically. He's in his first year. He pitched his longest outing of his professional career last time out, going into the 9th inning. And he was looking for a shutout, but I'm sure Walker, the pitching coach Pete Walker, and the manager John Gibbons have discussed this, and they're going to skip Aaron Sanchez and give him a little breather in the middle of the season.
He got tired. And Osuna going to get talking to right now. Did he foul that ball off of his foot?
He was pointing to the back of his right leg. Take a look at this pitch, and I think it was something to do with his right leg.
Yeah,
that's
the finish.
That's the back of his right knee. And he felt something back there. The trainer came out and checked with him, and he's staying in the game. Right off the end of the bat. And then inside on his fist.
At 84.
Jammed him. Well, Burley's always had confidence in that cutter, and early in his career he always looked for broken bats during the course of his start. And then he goes away for the strikeout. That's 3 strikeouts for Burley.
You know, when you can command those types of pitches, it's almost like you've got 6, 7, 8 different types of pitches when you can throw it outside, inside, up, and down. And then you can throw your changeup down. You can throw it up if you want. You can throw a curveball in there. I mean, you just got so many ways to mess up the timing of those hitters.
When you really think about it, it's a fun way to pitch. You're just trying to mess with timing, and you know, it's the greatest matchup in my mind in sports. Pitcher against batter, head to head, one-on-one, matching wits. And there's so many ways to compete, and the appeal down to third. Chris Conroy says that Yelich wins. But you can do it with power, you can do it with movement, you can do it with finesse.
You can use your brain. Nice catch by the fan. You got to be smart. Very nice.
Well, you know what? And fortunately, he did make a grab and caught it. The line drives are dangerous, but the fan's got his glove, and he probably saved somebody a bump. That's off the end of the bat as well to the second baseman. Yelich is retired today.
You know, we all love the 98 miles an hour fastball. We love it. I like it at the end of the game where you can get strikeouts because you're coming in late in a game. But these types of pitched games are a thing of beauty.
And they really are. They make you appreciate that you can pitch with your head and not necessarily with pure strength. Burley and Heron are perfect examples of that. There's a first pitch curveball for a strike. You go to the plate and you never know what you're going to get. They're so unpredictable. And like I said, for a catcher, it's a treat. I mean, you're just messing with hitters all night long, and as a catcher, you'll hear a lot of comments at home plate. Man, I can't believe I didn't hit that.
That was on that.
Oh, I was right there.
Did you catch Doyle Alexander?
Yep.
This is what a Doyle Alexander game is like.
Yeah, Doyle Alexander, Paul Splittorff in Kansas City had the same kind of stuff. Mike Caldwell in Milwaukee.
Scotty McGregor.
Collins just can't make the catch. He jumped for it, and the catcher, JT Realmuto's 3 for 3 in his first game against Mark Burley.
Infield hit last time up to right field, and now he goes to right field and just out of the reach of Ryan Goins for his third hit of the night.
Danny Echeverria, the former Blue Jay, is 0 for 2. He's hit into the double play and a fielder's choice. Realmuto is the catcher, but he can run a bit. He's got a couple of stolen bases. He's caught some infielders flat-footed, not anticipating he can run that well on grounders. He's beat out a couple of infield hits.
Well, he has seen Mark Buehrle's good move now. And he has gone back to first base each time that Buehrle has picked up that front foot.
The Marlins have 2 runs on 7 hits. The Blue Jays have 2 runs on 2 hits. Both the runs for the Marlins on home runs. Solo shot by Giancarlo Stanton in the first, and Christian Yelich, with 2 outs in the fourth, hit his 3rd home run, also a solo homer.
And the Blue Jays 2 runs, courtesy of 2 sacrifice flies.
By home run hitters. There goes Realmuto. Reyes has to backhand, and it's late at first. So Reyes took a step towards second because Realmuto broke to the bag. And then the ball was hit right in the hole at short. It was a tough play for Reyes. And Echeverria has his first hit of the night.
Starting that runner, with that runner starting, no play for Reyes. You see him slide his feet just a little bit towards the bag. And by then, he has to backhand the ball. Can't get enough on it. It's an infield hit number 8 of the night for the Marlins. And now Mark Buehrle needs to get a pretty good hitter.
Ichiro Suzuki coming into this game, a .429 average against Buehrle. And Buehrle gets ahead with a fastball. Boy, you don't think this is a chess match. Suzuki is 0 for 2. Couple of fastballs.
Yeah, he's got something on his mind, doesn't he?
This is the 66th at bat for Suzuki against Buehrle.
A little bit further outside. Suzuki can slap the ball anywhere it's pitched. He's got him to fly out a couple of times to left field by elevating the ball just a little bit.
Down and away. It's 2-2. Broken bat. Smoke at first will shovel to Buehrle, and Buehrle gets out of it once again. The Marlins leave 2 more. They have stranded 7 so far. Buehrle in a 2-2 game.
It's the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame induction weekend. 2015 inductees include Carlos Delgado, Felipe Alou, Matt Stairs, Corey Koski, and Bob Elliott. Get there early and attend the Baseball Family Street Festival happening in downtown St. Mary's from 9 a.m. till noon. Go to baseballhalloffame.ca for more details. Buck?
It's a great weekend for sure. We want to congratulate all the inductees into the Canadian Baseball Hall of Fame in St. Mary's. Well, this is just what we expected with Dan Heron and Mark Burley. A tight ball game, both the veteran pitchers keeping control of the offense. Ryan Goins drills it to center. Ozuna back. He gets there easily and runs it down. 1 out. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. How about that? He is really swinging the bat well right now as the Angels have a 4-0 lead over Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay got some tough news. Jake Odorizzi going on a disabled list with an oblique injury. Boy, for so many years the Rays had no injuries whatsoever to their pitchers, and this year they have really been crippled by the injuries to their pitchers.
Cobb is out. We saw McGee just came back. Matt Moore, Odorizzi. Well, one guy who hasn't is Chris Archer.
Yeah,
he's been filthy.
He's dealing, isn't he? Reyes jumps back from that slider. It's 2-1. Reyes scored the first Blue Jay run after he had a leadoff double in the 4th. He scored on Bautista's sacrifice fly. There's a drive that should get down, and it does as Ozuna plays it on the hat. So Josh Donaldson, he's 1 for 2. He also has 15 home runs. And when you look at Donaldson, home runs by a third baseman through 59 games. Kelly Gruber, 17, lost 17, and then Donaldson with 16 home runs.
Ed Sprague is on that list, and Tony Batista who played for you, 13
Tony
home runs.
Batista had a big offensive season. 16 homers for Donaldson. Makes a cut fastball down and away.
Boy, this should be fun to watch right here. Heron, the veteran, very good at holding runners. And Reyes, who is 9 for 9 in stolen bases.
Heron's only had 1 steal attempt against him. Just like Mark Burley. They're tough to run on.
Yeah. They vary their times to home. They'll hold the ball. They'll quick pitch. They're just smart baseball players.
Burley's had 1 attempt, and that base runner was caught stealing. Boy, Heron just doesn't give you any time to get a jump at first. He unloaded that quickly.
And Jose Reyes had thoughts of maybe going. He's got the green light. He can go anytime he wants. But he's got to pick a pitch and pick a time where he feels comfortable that he can steal that base. Real Muto is 4 for 19, trying to get base stealers.
The Marlins are 28th in the major leagues as far as the lowest caught stealing percentage. They've caught just 20% of the base runners. 2-1. Donaldson pops this one up. It's playable. It's way down the right field line in foul territory. What a grab by D. Gordon. The second baseman ran a mile to get it to foul territory. He was the only one that had a chance, and he makes a sliding catch to retire Donaldson.
You got to put a little star next to that one. Remember where he was playing, second base, and where he starts. You can see he's pulled over in that shift, plus he's a little shallow in double play depth. He takes a couple of steps up the middle. Now look how far he comes to get this ball, and he was the only player on the field who was going to have a shot at making that play. His outstanding speed got him to that ball, and he reaches out and he ends the Josh Donaldson at bat.
Boy, D. Gordon and Danny Echeverria, they really provide some terrific defense up the middle. D. Gordon is now 27 years old, but certainly well in prime of his career. So Jose Bautista had a sac fly his last time up, drove in the first Blue Jay run. Aaron just wasn't comfortable as he stepped onto the rubber. Now he's sorting out his thoughts as he has Reyes to deal with at first. Reyes is 9 for 9 in stolen bases.
And Jose Reyes just cannot get a feel for Dan Herron over there at first base.
Tim Leeper trying to give him some help, but Herron is just so good mixing up his releases. Bautista behind 0-2. Well, now you almost have to take a do or die jump. Just guess with Herron that he's going to the plate with Bautista behind 0-2. That's what Herron thinks.
Yeah, he thinks the same thing. And why not? Pitchers in this situation, they're thinking, okay, I can get Bautista. Maybe I can throw him a breaking ball off the plate. Well, that's an ideal pitch to run on. So Jose's got a very big lead.
Bautista grounds it to Gordon, who ranges to his left. The one-out single by Reyes is stranded on base. We head to the 7-2 ball game.
In Cincinnati on July the 14th, you have to vote. Go to BlueJays.com and vote early and vote often. Fans are allowed a maximum of 35 votes per email address. But right now, if the All-Star game was to be happening today, 7 Kansas City Royals would be in the starting lineup. So if you want Blue Jays there instead of Royals, you must go out and vote.
That's a good idea, Barry. And if you log online, you can go to BlueJays.com and you can get some of those Blue Jays to that All-Star game. And right now, the Kansas City Royals are dominating the American League lineup. So log on and send some of those Blue Jays to Cincinnati. Roberto Osuna pitching for the first time since Saturday. And boy, what a first season he's put together.
He is the youngest Blue Jay to ever win a ball game, Osuna, in franchise history. And that outing that you just mentioned on Saturday, he only faced one batter, struck out Preston Tucker to end the 8th inning. So he is well rested. The first chance that the Marlins have had a chance to see Osuna.
Now they got to dial it up a notch. 94 compared to 84, which they dealt with Mark Buehrle.
Might look like 104 after Mark.
Lee Gordon has grounded out 3 times to the right side of the infield. Josh Donaldson in at third, guarding against the bunt. Osuna pitched on Friday night in the Astros series. He came in after Aaron Sanchez started the 9th inning. Sanchez faced 3 batters, gave up a home run, single. Then Osuna came in and struck out the side to end the game. That's popped up behind short. Reyes back into the outfield, makes the catch. D. Gordon is 0 for 4. Gordon is 0 for 8 in the series. So now Martin Prado will face Osuna. Prado doubled in the 5th. Is it really that much of an in-game adjustment for hitters after Buehrle pitches 6 and then you have to deal with 94, 95?
You know what? I always felt like it was when you're facing a guy who's not throwing very hard, a left-hander, and you're a right-handed batter like Prado is, guy not throwing very hard, and then you bring in a right-hander like Osuna throwing the mid-90s. I always felt it was a little bit different, a little tougher. Got to dial it up a notch. What you have to do is you have to keep telling yourself, hey, he's providing all the power. You just make sure you try and get the ball out in front.
Osuna missed all the way across the plate. They wanted that fastball inside. 2-1 to Martin Prado. Giancarlo Stanton is on deck. "20-year-old Roberto Osuna made the club out of spring training, and I don't think anybody anticipated that he would lead the Jays in relief innings.
Not at this stage of the season, but you know what? He's done such a great job for the Blue Jays, and John Gibbons has said that in the past. Gibbons said, I'm going to go with my hot hand, and he's been pitching in some big parts of games, 7th inning, 8th inning. He has been brought in here to face the top of the lineup. And as a manager, that's a pretty good pitch right there. And as a manager, I think you want your best relievers to face the best hitters, don't you?
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's a different mindset, too. I mean, you're in the 7th, it's a 2-2 game. Buehrle has been terrific. And you got to face the top of the order, so go ahead and bring Osuna in. Full count, 1 out. Goes after the high fastball. Smoke will go over near the seats, and it's back out of play. The league has hit just 170 against Roberto Osuna. He's allowed 16 hits in 27 innings. The bullpen has been better of late. Another 3-2 pitch. Another foul back. Giancarlo Stanton has homered, struck out, and was walked intentionally. His home run number 20 of the season.
And we'll get to him, but that could be a lot of fun. Power versus power. Roberto Osuna's first chance to face the big slugger.
Prado hits a tough pitch and fouls it down the line. Well, Stanton hit his 20th, and then right after that, Bryce Harper hit his 20th in New York for the Nationals. And those two young hitters, they lead the baseball world with 20 home runs. Giancarlo Stanton, his 6th 20 home run season. Ground ball, another foul. We're in a 2-2 game. We're in the 7th. Blue Jays starter Mark Burley is out of the game. He allowed 2 runs on 8 hits over 6 innings. Quite a battle going on between Osuna and the seasoned veteran Martin Prado.
Saw Navarro shake like he wanted to finally get a changeup. Roberto said, no, I want to challenge him with my heater.
His changeup is a very good pitch, and the Marlins haven't seen it.
It's getting loose.
Toe to toe with fastballs. When you have a conversation with Roberto Osuna, he makes you pause and remind yourself he's just 20. He speaks like he's a veteran major leaguer.
Wow. What an at-bat right here for Prado. Look at where all those pitches are. For me, I thought he had him struck out on pitch number 5 on that fastball down and away, but it's been 5 more pitches now. Excuse me, 6, as that is now an 11 pitch at bat.
8 foul balls. 3-2, 1 out. Ground ball. Goins at second. Osuna wins the battle. Now it's time for the drive of the game. It's brought to you by the Restyle 2016 Acura RDX. Go beyond utility.
Well, this is a drive, and it's a fast drive. Change up out over the plate, and Giancarlo Stanton says home run number 20. A line drive over the fence in left field and into the bullpen. Got the Marlins their first run in first inning.
Giancarlo Stanton, his home run in the first inning was his 20th. That gives him 6 20 home run seasons through age 25 season. And listen to the company he has just joined. Alex Rodriguez, Tony Conigliaro, Orlando Cepeda, Frank Robinson, Eddie Matthews, Mickey Mantle, and Mel Ott. They all had 6 20 home run seasons through their age 25 season.
Wow.
That's a pretty exclusive club.
Lots of Hall of Famers on that list.
Or a little cutter. Little movement took it off the end of the bat. We haven't seen that often. 0-2. Boy, they wanted it up, and had they been set up outside, that might have been strike 3.
Same pitch that he threw to Prado did not get the call. Fastball down and away.
Went back with that cutter again. Power against power. And Stanton has won that matchup. Number 21 for Stanton. His second home run of the game. The first home run that Roberto Osuna has allowed in his career.
I tell you, he's the only guy for me in that lineup that can hit the ball out of the ballpark. So I don't want to put anything close. Watch Navarro, the catcher. He knows as soon as that ball is hit that ball is going to leave the yard. It looked like they wanted the ball up. You could see Navarro a little bit higher. He's got the glove up a little bit higher, but Stanton drops that barrel on that ball.
And you saw how Stanton was able to extend his arms, and that's the one thing we've talked about. When you got a power hitter like this, you have to keep his arms close to his body. Don't let him extend. And, you know, I know it's easier said than done, but Stanton now leads the majors with 21 home runs. 16th multi-home run game of his career. 3rd this season.
Well, this is no knock on the guy hitting behind him, but in a tie game, late in the game, who do you want to be swinging the bat?
No, I agree with you 100%. Jeff Baker. Now it's 2-2 to Baker, the first baseman. I mean, Stanton, you're not going to win the battle, and you're not going to be able to put a star on your chest just because you get him out once. He's a threat.
I think it's safe to say he's seen the ball pretty well. 3 home runs in these first 2 games.
Off the end of the bat, Reyes behind the bag at second, throws out Baker. But Giancarlo Stanton, a 2-homer night, is a one-man wrecking crew. First home run allowed by Roberto Osuna, home run number 21. That leads the majors. Presented by authority of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Rogers Blue Jays Baseball Partnership. It's a 3-2 ball game. Giancarlo Stanton with 2 home runs, and Encarnacion drills this ball. It just foul down the left field line. Boy, he jumped all over that first pitch.
There is not a lot of foul territory down that left field line, so anything down into that corner's got a really good chance. Look at that, just a couple of feet from that wall. That's how close it was for Edwin to get extra bases, so he's got to do it all over again at home plate.
Encarnacion asked for time as Heron began his delivery, but Angel Hernandez, the home plate umpire, had granted timeout. Edwin Encarnacion, we mentioned, he had 1 3-home run game in his career, and he hit 2 home runs in that game against Dan Heron. That was in Arizona in May of 2010. Encarnacion disputing the called third strike with the umpire Angel Hernandez, and it looked like it might have been off the plate outside.
You know what, Buck? He has been painting that outside corner, I think, since the beginning of the game, and Angel Hernandez, home plate umpire, recognizes that. Just a bad time right there for Edwin with 2 strikes, but it's a pitch down and away. See, it comes back just a little bit, and he calls it a strike, and Edwin disagrees.
1 out. 6 strikeouts for Heron. Valverde goes after the first pitch, hits it to the shortstop. Echeverria. 2 quick outs here in the 7th. Let's go back and look at strike 3 to Encarnacion. Looks like it's off the plate.
I'll tell you what, that's painting right there. And Herron's been doing it all game long. That is where he has pitched those power hitting right-handers all night, down and away like that.
2 outs, bottom of the 7th. Another pitch on the knees away from Justin Smoak. Smoak is 0 for 2. Takes a little bit further down for a ball. When he drops that curveball, and it looked like it might have been low. And Smoke asking Angel Hernandez if it was high enough. After seeing those 2 low fastballs, he had a pretty good gauge on the bottom of that strike zone.
Look where all those pitches are down.
One-run ball game, 3-2. And Herron strikes out Smoke. Couple of strikeouts in the 7th. Herron has allowed 2 runs on 3 hits and struck out 7.
You add internet to select Rogers Ignite bundles. Find out how. Call 1-888-ROGERS-1 now. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Thank you very much, Barry. It is a beautiful night at Rogers Center. Lots of fans on hand enjoying this great weather. The Blue Jays trail 3-2. Aaron Loop into the ball game. Loop last pitched on Sunday. Faced just 1 batter and struck out the pinch hitter, Hank Condon.
Yeah, just like Roberto Osuna, 1/3 of an inning and a strikeout. Loopy pitched on Sunday, got that 1 out. 1-3 record with a .479 earned run average for Aaron, so he is well rested. He's only walked 3 batters all year long. He's been around the plate.
Marcell Ozuna, the center fielder. Ozuna has singled tonight to extend his hit streak to 10 straight. Loop has handled right-handed bats fairly well. They've hit .259 against him. He hasn't dominated the lefties this season as he has in the past, but they're still hitting just .231.
.231. he can move that fastball in and out. There's a lot more knowledge of what he throws.
It's off the end of the bat. Bautista backs up. Now he comes in a couple of steps, and Ozuna is retired, one down.
First couple of years in the big leagues, you know, Aaron was painting that fastball in and out, throwing the changeup and then the slider, where there's a lot more video of him now, and people know what he wants to do. So he's going to have to make some better pitches and maybe change up the way he attacks certain hitters.
Well, there's so much information available to the hitters. They can see every pitch. Reliever throws. This is Christian Yelich. He homered off early in the fourth. He shows bunt and takes strike one.
You know, I'm still content. If you make a good pitch, you're going to get good hitters out. And there was a while there where Aaron gave up a couple of hits and some runs. I mean, went through a really rough patch, 700 runs and 16 hits in the last 11 innings. He just wasn't making good pitches.
That's a good pitch.
Yep.
Got him to swing.
Two good ones. Okay, now you got to finish him off.
And don't give him any more information. You got him in the hole 0-2. Go for the juggler here. And he does. 3-pitch strikeout for Luke. 2 down.
Experience the WeStyle 2016 Acura RDX. Go beyond utility.
It's a beautiful evening here in Toronto. We are at Rogers Center in the 8th inning. JT Realmuto, the catcher, is 3 for 3 tonight. He's taken over as the everyday catcher. The plan is for Jeff Mathis to catch tomorrow, the backup catcher and former Blue Jay. Realmuto has had 1 4-hit game this season. Changeup bounced in the dirt. It's 2-1. I like the way Realmuto handles himself at the plate and behind the plate. He chokes up on the bat, out of bat control. He's had a 3-hit game. He's averaged at 239, but you see how he shortens up on the bat handle.
He's trying to hit the ball to right field. You can tell that. That's why Aaron came in there with that fastball on the inside part of the plate, and he just missed. You can see he's trying to shoot the ball. 2 of his hits tonight have come to right field.
Realmuto is 24 years old. Got into 11 games last year. And Donaldson, what a play. Takes one away from Realmuto. Flashing the leather at third. Put a start on that play. That ball was headed to left field. Realmuto making a bid for a 4-hit game. He's denied by Donaldson at third. We'll go to the bottom of the 8th, 3-2 Marlins. Now it's time for a Blue Jays Central update. Here's Jamie Campbell and Greg
TV and radio. For daily coverage, headlines, and analysis and schedules, go to BlueJays.com or Sportsnet.ca/Blue Jays and join the conversation at Sportsnet. Right now, our own Shai Davidi has a story about how the Blue Jays are very close to signing their first-round pick, John Harris. It would be a signing bonus of close to $2 million. Buck?
That's a lot of money, Harry, and hopefully they'll get that young man signed. He comes from Missouri State in Springfield, Missouri. This is Mike Dunn, the veteran. Dunn had a 10-win season last year for Miami.
That type Tony Watson for the most relief wins in Major League Baseball. He's the setup man now. He throws hard. Dunn does. That fastball is 96, 97. He's got a four-seamer and a two-seamer. Slider. He repeats his delivery. He's got a good arm.
Dunn began his career with the New York Yankees. He was traded to Atlanta, and now here he is with the Marlins. It'll be Navarro, Pilar, and Goins. Remember, the Blue Jays have Russell Martin on the bench and Danny Valencia as well.
And they hammer left-handed pitching.
That's popped up. Echeverria. Prado, the third baseman, thought it was popped up in front of third, and he came in looking for it and never saw it. And he was asking for help, but Echeverria saw it all the way.
Yeah, Mike Dunn, the pitcher right there, was saying, hey, it's not there. Watch the third baseman, Prado. It goes up. He thinks it's, well, where is it? I have no idea where it is. I know it's around here somewhere. Just look over your shoulder. It's in the glove of your shortstop.
Shortstop had it all the way. That was great. But it gives you an idea how difficult things are right now. And Prado continues to look up, and it's twilight here. And there's no background up there to find that baseball. Kevin Pilar chases that first pitch slider. That's a hard slider at 88.
He's got good depth with that slider. There is the background that the fielder's going to be looking at over the next 5-10 minutes or so. Gets above the lights and then disappears.
Pilar quickly behind 0-2. Danny Valencia has grabbed a bat. He's on deck. He'll bat for Ryan Goins. Valencia had a pair of doubles in last night's game. Off the plate.
He's got a pretty good arm, Dunn. You mentioned he started with the Yankee organization. He started as an outfielder with the Yankees and just didn't make that work. He just couldn't hit, so they put him on the mound in 2006, and here he is.
Much like Sean Doolittle of the A's. Pilar chases that high fastball at 95. 2 up, 2 down. Well, Dan Herron has never lost a game here at Rogers Center. This was his 8th career start. He has a 5-0 record. He goes 7 innings, allows 3 hits. The Blue Jays scored 2 runs in the 4th inning on 2 sacrifice fly. Didn't walk a batter. And most importantly for Herron, he kept the ball in the yard tonight.
Kept the ball in the ballpark. 5th time he has gone 7 innings this season. Ties the season high with those 7 strikeouts. He was masterful.
So Danny Valencia comes off the bench sporting a .325 average. And he has been wearing out lefty pitching all season long. Valencia steps in with a .425 average against left-handed pitchers. And that double against Brad Hand in the first. Outside. Top of the order is on deck, Jose Reyes. Reyes has had a knack of making things happen. Slider.
Yeah.
Well off the plate. They're not messing with Valencia inside at all. Danny is 0 for 7 as a pinch hitter.
They've seen the scouting report for Valencia versus the lefties. Likes the ball in and down. and they've kept everything away. I'd give them the green light right here.
Ball 4. So Valencia reaches and that'll turn the lineup over, and it'll be Jose Reyes. He's 2 for 3 so far and has scored 1 of the 2 Blue Jays runs. Munenori Kawasaki will come on to pinch run for Valencia as he represents the tying run. So Valencia does his job. He reaches base in a 1-run game. Jose Reyes goes after the first pitch, bounces it to Prado. They go to second. Just like that, the inning is over. So we'll go to the 9th. Blue Jays trail 3-2. A lot more baseball coming up on Sportsnet tomorrow night. It all starts at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, as the Cubs are in Detroit to take on the Tigers. Jake Arrieta will go to the mound for the Cubs. A former Oriole will take on Shane Green, who is 4-5 for the Tigers. New pitcher into the ballgame will be the 3rd reliever to work for the Blue Jays. It's Liam Hendricks, the right-hander.
Hendricks has done a good job in his 20 games this year for the Blue Jays. He's got a winning record. He was the winning pitcher on that walk-off hit by Chris Colabello on Sunday. 342 earned run average. He has thrown 26 1/3 innings. He's had 28 strikeouts and just 5 base on balls this season.
He has seen a jump in his fastball velocity since moving to the bullpen. Munenori Kawasaki, the pinch runner, takes over at second defensively. It'll be Echeverria, Suzuki, then back to the top of the order. Danny Echeverria 1 for 3. He singled to the shortstop in the 6th. It was stranded aboard. Hendricks firing strikes.
Why not? Come out of that bullpen. You're facing 8-9-1. Use that fastball.
Strikes out Echeverria, 1 down. Let's check in with Jamie Campbell. Noah Syndergaard, starting for the Mets, has given up 4 runs on 10 hits. He's out of the game. Dylan G in relief, but how about that? Chris Heston, no hitting the Mets. Ichiro Suzuki takes a strike. It's 1-1 to the DH. Loop had a perfect inning in the 8th. Hendricks has retired the first batter here in the 9th. There's strike 2.
I think these hitters are surprised at Liam Hendricks' velocity. They remember him from his Minnesota days as a starter. They just seem surprised when that ball fires in there at 95.
Suzuki has faced him 6 times. He's 2 for 6. What's wrong with that pitch? That side of the plate has been contentious for the Blue Jays all night long. It looked like that was a pretty good pitch. Didn't get the call.
Looked like the same pitch to Edwin Encarnacion. That fastball in the outside corner, down.
Suzuki drives it to left. Colabello back, and Hendricks retires the first 2 here in the top of the 9th. 20,558 for the Tuesday night game. It'll be a Wednesday afternoon game. 12:30 start. Pregame show will precede that. It begins at noon with Jamie Campbell and Greg Zahn. D. Gordon goes after that first breaking ball, and Kevin Pillar can't make the catch. Gordon will stop. Pillar dove and looked like he got a glove on it, but he may have trapped it. That's the first hit for Gordon in the series. He's now 1 for 9.
He has been coming up with these circus catches all season long. Little floater into center field. Looked like it might have been in the glove momentarily. Let's see one more time. Yeah, just trapped right underneath the ground, right underneath the glove, but it stays right there for a base hit.
D. Gordon, a threat to run. He's got 20 bags already. And this is the time you want him to gamble. They're up by a run in the 9th.
Play add-on. He's been thrown out 8 times this year.
Crowder takes strike 1.
It's a good number 2 man right here,
isn't he?
Martin Prado.
He's patient. He'll take strikes, give the base runner at first a chance to run. He's confident he can hit with 2 strikes. D. Gordon's in his first season with the Marlins, but you look at the stolen bases the last 2 seasons, he's the leader of the pack ahead of Hamilton, Altuve, Revere, and Ellsbury. He's got 84 stolen bases.
64 of them last year. 64. And last year he was caught 19 times.
Well, he's a terrific defender. Former shortstop has made a very effective transition to second. Crowder hits it on the ground. Kawasaki throws him out. Hendricks does his job. He keeps it a 1-run game. The Blue Jays will go to the 9th. They're down by a run. A.J. Ramos, the closer, will deal with the heart of the order. Donaldson, Bautista, and Encarnacion. The Blue Jays need another comeback. the ninth inning. The Blue Jays trail the Marlins 3-2, and the closer, A.J. Ramos, is into the ball game. His 28th appearance. He is 7 for 9 in save opportunities, and this wasn't the plan at the start of the season.
No, it wasn't. That's why he's only had 9 opportunities. It was Steve Cishek at the beginning of the season, but he blew 3 or 4 games early. He's now in the minor leagues, and A.J. Ramos has taken over that. Look at those outstanding numbers. .095 batting average. Lefties 174, and righties just 120. He throws hard. For a small guy, he's only 5'10". He throws hard. He's got natural cutting action on that fastball. That's why he's been so tough against the right-handers.
A 21st round pick out of Texas Tech. Donaldson drives the first pitch into right, and that's going to be a base hit. Stanton was deep, and it falls in front of him. The leadoff man's aboard, nobody out. Now it's time for a preview of what's coming up on Sportsnet Central. Here's Ken Reed and Ivanka Osmak. Thank you very much, Ken, and make sure you stay tuned for that. That's coming up right after this ball game. Well, the Blue Jays, can they pull off some magic again? Toughest part of the order for Ramos. The Blue Jays have had 3 walk-off wins this season. Donaldson with 2 home runs to walk off. Colabello with a 2-run single.
Oh, Jose was looking for another one right there. That was a violent swing. He was guessing fastball. He got the 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and he was thinking about ending the ball game with 1 swing. Look at Bautista.
That's a good swing. 1-1. He was all over that pitch.
We saw it, that slider. That's a breaking ball from Ramos. He'll backdoor it at times, occasional changeup, and he's got a good fastball.
This is the second full season for Ramos with the Marlins. His first time he's faced the Blue Jays. 1-2. That'll reach the seats. Bautista will have another cut. Bautista drove in the first Blue Jay run. First of 2 they scored in the 4th, and that's been it. 2 sacrifice flies. Bautista and Encarnacion back-to-back. Changeup. Bautista strikes out. So 1 down here in the 9th.
After feeding him a couple of fastballs, he takes something off. It's a pretty good changeup. Ramos has always said he wanted to be a starter or a late innings reliever. Well, he gets his chance right now. He's going to have to face Bautista and Encarnacion now.
Edwin 0 for 2 with a sac fly. Deep drive to center. Did he do it? At the wall. Goodbye. Ball game. Missing 2 games. Home run number 13 And the Blue Jays got some magic going as they reach 500.
Never out of it when you've got home run powers. They had the right guys coming up. Josh Donaldson started by looping that single into right field. Ramos had to deal with Bautista, struck him out, and then one pitch to Encarnacion. Back in the lineup after missing a couple games with a sore shoulder. It's okay now with that swing.
That shoulder feels fine. Encarnacion hit it high and deep to center. Ozuna watched it hit off the facing. And the Blue Jays walk off the Marlins. Easy on the shoulder, boys. Remember, easy on the shoulder. A tempered celebration. 7 straight for the Blue Jays. We'll see you tomorrow afternoon. Ken Reed and Ivanka coming up.